project number 2, Uplift the Spirit, from the Speciality Speech Manual, and her objectives will be to identify and understand the basic differences and similarities between inspirational speeches and other types of speeches, to learn how to evaluate the audience feeling and to establish emotional rapport, and to develop a speech style and delivery that effectively expresses inspirational content by moving the audience to adopt your views. Right, that's a mouthful. And this is an 8 to 10 minute speech.
Please welcome to the stage Amanda Swartz with a speech entitled It's the Getting Up That Counts. Hands up, those of you in here who have either failed or fallen at the first hurdle when you've tried something new. That's a lot of us. And what about when you try something, you try to live your life and something really bad, unexpected comes along? That's all of us. Well, 1 or 2 hands I didn't see going up, but believe you me, the young ones and some of the older ones who haven't had this happen to them, it will happen to you in time. Falling down physically is one thing. Falling mentally is another. Tonight I'm going to tell you some stories and paint you some pictures of 3 of my particular falls in my very short life. And I will show you, or try to show you, how a stranger with words of wisdom helped me, gave me the means and the strength to pick myself up again. Now, the first fall was when I was 17. We were at a motocross rally. My father was taking part, my stepfather was taking part. The whole family were there. And as the riders lapped the ground, I noticed that Terry wasn't amongst them. I knew something was up when I saw the slower riders coming past. And then the announcement of the crash affected me. My mother and brother weren't in any fit state, so it was up to me to identify his body and sort out the funeral. I wasn't close to my mother. In fact, Terry, my stepfather, was my rock. And with him gone, my whole world literally tumbled upside down, and I plummeted into a very, very dark place. Books, as you know, I'm a reader. Books kept me alive. They literally kept me going. And I remember a Stephen King novel. One of the characters said, "What happens if I fall?" And the response was a laugh. Sooner or later, we all do. So I realised I wasn't the only one that had ever fallen, but I didn't know how to get myself up again. Now, boxers in the ring do this all the time. Doesn't matter how many times they get knocked down, it's the times they get up that matter. And I read one of Terry's books after he'd gone. It was about a boxer in the 1920s, an American boxer called Jack Dempsey. And he said it best when he said, and I quote, "A winner is someone who gets up even when he can't, or he thinks he can't. One slow and painful step at a time, he gets up, he gets on with it." Now, William Harrison Dempsey was one of Terry's sporting heroes. And I thought, if he could do it, and others with battered bodies and bruised spirits, then surely I could too. And I did, one step at a time, one day at a time. And one day, I realised that life goes on. I had triumphed. The second fall was when we were living in Australia, and my youngest daughter was assessed by an educational psychologist. We had noticed Sophie's developmental delays. She crawled late, she was hardly talking at 18 months, but I was tired of telling the doctors there was something wrong. They kept telling us that she was probably one of those second-born children that would just take their time, would eventually start talking in full sentences. We didn't believe her, but we got on with life. And we accepted that she would probably be a bit slower than her peers. We enrolled her in kindergarten, as you do, and one of the teachers there was concerned and referred her to the educational psychologist. And off she went, aged 4, barely talking, for the day to be assessed by the experts. We were called in later in the day to hear their assessment. I won't ever forget this evaluation that she gave us. She said, "Our professional diagnosis is that your daughter will never be in the normal range. She will never achieve the milestones that you are expecting. The best bet is to put her in an institution where she can muddle along at her own pace. We suggest you throw away the key and concentrate your parenting efforts on your elder daughter." The silence after that evaluation was deafening. I literally felt like I'd been kicked in the guts. And I fell on the floor. I fell off my chair onto the floor. I couldn't hear anything except a rushing in my ears, and I could see people's mouths moving. And when I came to, I could hear this ed psych trying to explain to me and apologise. But the damage had been done. My heart, literally, was broken, and my mind was blown. And I had to be helped up from the floor and taken home. And over the next 3 weeks, I went from hysteria to complete bewilderment to refusal to accept this, and back again. A crippling depression overtook me. I couldn't see any way out of it. But once again, reading helped. I spent every hour I could, when I could get up, and when I could be bothered, reading about developmental delay and how to cope in these kind of situations. And I also stumbled upon Jack Dempsey's book again. I read his words again and realised that he was right. It was about picking yourself up. I had done it before, and surely I could do it again. And it took very small steps, very painful steps, and a day at a time, before we finally came to an understanding, my husband and I, and we got on with it as best we could. Refusing to get up then would have been the real failure. Now, my third tale tonight, some of you have heard already, was a life-changing fall I had when we were holidaying off the coast of Venezuela. I jumped out of a boat onto the sloping shore, had a terribly bad fall when my ankle twisted, and it was a catastrophic open fracture. We were on this remote desert island, ocean island, and I had to be airlifted off, which caused an awful delay. Once we got to the mainland in Caracas, the hospital, we couldn't speak Spanish. and the insurance company, the medical insurance company, needed a translation from the Spanish doctors before they would approve the operation for my foot. But I do remember seeing the doctor pointing at his watch and making a chopping motion. And through my pain and haze, I realised what he was trying to say. This is going to amputate my foot if we didn't get a move on. Luckily, the translation came through, and I went through for surgery, 9 hours of surgery to try and repair my foot. There were 4 surgeons, and they were all very pleased with themselves, but the head surgeon came out afterwards and said, "We have to tell you, we can't guarantee that you'll be able to walk on your foot again. So you're going to have to accept that you might have to have an amputation at some later stage." To cut a short story, a long and painful story short, we flew back to the UK. And 6 months of further operations, physio, and rehab took place. I had to use Jack Dempsey every single day, one step at a time, one day at a time. You can do it. Both my ankles are firmly attached to both my legs, and I will survive. That's it.